we've talked many times on this program and also today about the expiration of the Trump tax cuts, which largely hit individuals, that expire in 2025. If you look to past experience with the Bush tax cuts that were passed in 2000 that expired in 2010, what we did there is we extended them 1 year at a time for a couple of years until everybody could get on the same page and come up with this big deal that sort of wrapped everything up together, extended most of the tax cuts, but not all of them, especially those on higher income individuals. I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen this time around. Everybody's pointing to 2025 as being this big year, but going back to our original conversation about the need to create this big crisis and a backdrop, and also the need to have some lollipops along with, the medicine. I'm wondering if what we see in 2025 is 1 or 2 years of just extending the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts, one year at a time, because also it's easier to offset a smaller amount of money, until you create an environment where you've got Social Security, the pressure to reform Social Security, the pressure to reform Medicare, along with the pressure to, do something about the tax cuts that have sort of been rolling along for a year and a year at a time. Whether all of those, you mix those up, stir them up in a pot, that creates the crisis in the backdrop, the deadline necessary for a grand bargain. Thoughts?
Tori, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I believe that we should consider also the fact that trust fund or Social Security, as you said, is deplete by 2033. HI trust fund deplete even earlier, in combination with the tax cuts expiring in 25. The perfect storm is there for what we were talking about earlier. I don't like the term grand bargain, but it is something there that allows us to look both on the tax side as well as the spending side and to extend them on a 1 year basis. I would also simply say it's obvious, I guess, and should be stated, that a lot of this is predicated upon an outcome of a congressional and a presidential election next year as to what impact that would have on all of this that we've talked about.
Very true. Bob, can I squeeze in one more question here?
Sure.
So this one I want to direct to Tom. Tom, one of the things, so you're a professor at American University, you teach a class on policy, public policy. One of the things that your students do, I think, every semester is they go through Concord Coalition's policy and priorities exercise, where your students actually get, some time in class to learn about the federal budget, but then also go through an exercise of picking and choosing the options, on the revenue side, on the spending side, a bunch of different options to try and create some savings in the budget. I know that we've talked today about all the tough choices and how hard it is and the lack of leadership it is to make these tough choices. I'm wondering what you're seeing in your class with the, the college age students that you see and their ability to make some of the tough choices. And does that give you any hope about the future?
Well, it's a good question, but I do want to give a real plug to Concord Coalition for sponsoring and put that program together, because it is really truly a highlight of the semester for all the students. They love doing it and they really enjoy it and they learn a lot from it. It's interesting because we break the class into groups of 5, and each group is responsible for figuring out what they want to do about the deficit, and they're given a whole bunch of choices, a whole bunch of different spending programs and revenue. And invariably, not only do they balance the budget, but they end up with huge surpluses. And then at the end, we ask them, we say, do you think you're going to get reelected next year? And almost universally, they say, no, the voters will never put us back in office. They're willing to make the tough choices, but I think they're not so tough. For example, they're willing to cut Medicare and Social Security because I think they see those programs as so far off that it doesn't affect them. But when you get to things like student loans, something which is close to their heart, no, don't touch that. So, sadly, you see some of the same phenomenon among young people that you do among older people. Don't tax me, but tax the guy over there. Don't cut my program, but cut his or hers. But I think one of the reasons why that program is so important is because it teaches young people why the debt and the deficit are so critical.